Oppenheimer is directed, written, and co-produced by Christopher Nolan. The film stars Cillian Murphy as a theoretical physicist, J. Robert Oppenheimer. The film starts off with a bang, showcasing the visions of what's to come for Oppenheimer. Nolan right off the bat draws the attention to the thoughts within the man via noises and distorted abstract sequencing. He's clearly a man tormented by a vision of a future nuclear-based bomb. He's struggling to pay attention to his professor in class at the very beginning and defers to do his own independent work. And also teaching. He was so angry with his professor he nearly poisoned him via an apple. However, after a quick chat with Niels Bohr, played by Kenneth Branagh, and saving him from a poisoned apple, Oppenheimer seeks out a company that would embrace his work. Cillian Murphy plays the role of a tormented scientist but driven American. The movie doesn't shy away from displaying his clashes with other ideologies within this world. Murphy devoted so much into the role, dropping a lot of weight, and definitely matched it with a wonderful and captivating performance overall. Oppenheimer earned a PhD in Germany and returned to his home country before the beginning of World War II. He teaches at the California Institute of Technology and is driven by not mastering quantum physics. He also meets other driven scientists like Ernest Lawrence, played by Josh Hartnett. Oppenheimer also meets Jean Tatlock, played by Florence Pugh, a member of the US Communist Party. The two fall in love as Oppenheimer continues to build his reputation amongst his scientific peers. He also pokes at the wrong bear at times politically in this film. Director Christopher Nolan illustrated how tense the atmosphere was even before the Cold War when it came to communism. Jean Tatlock herself plays a big role during Oppenheimer's questioning by US officials. The film also gets a bit creative, sequencing how passionate the relationship between Oppenheimer and Tatlock. Florence Pugh isn't in the film very much, but her role is crucial in showcasing how conflicted Oppenheimer was in his love life, and obviously how conflicted he was in general. Catherine Punig, played by Emily Blunt, enters Oppenheimer's life. She's an ex-communist biologist keen with the scientific mind. Their new relationship formed into a marriage and even led to 2 eventual children. This causes Oppenheimer and Tatlock to break off their off-and-on fling. Tatlock is so depressed from their separation, she drowns herself, and this adds even more trauma to Oppenheimer's mind. The 2 women in his life would both come into questioning during his hearings because of a concern that he's not committed to his country's cause. Back in the past, Oppenheimer is tasked by General Leslie Groves, played by Matt Damon, on a secret project for the US government. Oppenheimer would oversee the Manhattan Project and recruit some of the best minds in science. He even attempts to recruit a longtime friend in Albert Einstein, played by Tom Conti. Louis Strauss, played by Robert Downey Jr., sets up a meeting between the 2 scientists. And this scene obviously plays a big role not just within the scene of Oppenheimer and Einstein, but plays huge ramifications to the overall plot of the movie at the very end. I gotta say, Matt Damon did a solid job in the role of General Groves. The contrast of ideologies between Oppenheimer and Groves was apparent throughout. The film does a good job portraying Groves as a simple soldier following duties, but also having his own restraints. He respects Oppenheimer but doesn't really like him. You could tell once the scientists proved that the bomb worked, his whole demeanor just changed. He even went after Oppenheimer during the hearings years later, just after working together on the atomic bomb. The 2 worked together in the past to build a newly established town of Los Alamos, New Mexico. Oppenheimer assembles his team of scientists and makes them all move into the town. Some refrain and some want compromises from the scientists before they even join his project. The team is driven by a real and difficult race against the Nazi scientists into creating the next big bomb. Werner Heisenberg, played by Matthias Schweighöfer, I hope I didn't butcher that, leads the Nazi scientists and gets extremely close into proving their theory of finding the next big bomb. There's also a chance that this new bomb could also cause the end of worlds. Oppenheimer and Einstein discuss a possibility of a chain reaction and destroying Earth's atmosphere. The film once again illustrates the disastrous consequences via such dark and very direct visuals. Bravo to the cinematographer for blending in between black and white scenes and scenes with full color. It's a nice little touch that they add on to just really showcase the time period that they're in. Germany surrenders in 1945. Many former Nazi scientists come out and speak out against the usage of a big bomb, saying that it's not really necessary anymore. The team at Los Alamos go forward with their own experiment and succeed in their Trinity test. US President Harry Truman decides to use the new created bombs against the Japanese Empire. Later on, he tells the tormented scientist that he dropped the bomb, not Oppenheimer. The 2 clash in a private meeting, not just in politics, but in personalities. He ends the meeting abruptly and calls Oppenheimer a crybaby scientist. I think that this kind of complexion and this kind of differences between Harry Truman and Oppenheimer really does showcase a difference of generations and a difference of ideologies. Oppenheimer is a guy that's been given this curse and this wonderful ability of understanding modern science, but is tormented by the fact that it can be used for sinister purposes. Totally not a crybaby. Oppenheimer nonetheless comes out against the usage of nuclear weapons. He calls his own weapon genocidal and refers to himself a destroyer of worlds. He also speaks out against the usage of a hydrogen bomb. This bomb was being developed by Edward Teller, played by Benny Safdie. The tension between Oppenheimer and others within the US Atomic Energy Commission continued on. He's called out by many of his former allies as a left-wing activist. Former allies Strauss resented Oppenheimer for taking the spotlight of attention for the atomic bomb. Strauss later asked for a hearing against Oppenheimer within the commission. He seeks to revoke Oppenheimer of his security clearances within the US government. Old things from Oppenheimer's past were surfaced, like his old relationships with communist sympathizers. His younger brother Frank was even perceived to be an open communist. The questioning commission also sought if Oppenheimer leaked out information to his old science pals in Russia. Strauss's grudge came further when it was revealed that Oppenheimer scoffed at his concerns over exporting isotopes. He is turned against by former allies Groves and Teller as well. Oppenheimer's security clearance within the US government is later revoked, within less than 5 years of creating that World War winning weapon. Oppenheimer would later live on in a hollow and less enthusiastic life than he did before. He lost his passion for science and his ideologies as well. Justice would come years later during a Senate confirmation hearing for Strauss. During that confirmation hearing, former meteorological laboratory technician David Hill, played by Rami Malek, emerges. He comes out and reveals that Strauss plotted the hearings and personally went after Oppenheimer after his apparent lack of credit. Strauss would later be denied of his position within the federal government, and fun fact, the man that spoke out the most against Strauss was Senator John F. Kennedy from the state of Massachusetts. Congrats, my dude, you helped create a world-ending weapon. You'll want a ribbon with that? How about a Nobel Peace Prize? He was also angry that Einstein brushed him aside and that Oppenheimer wouldn't tell them what they chatted about years back. The chat between the two scientists was more than just about Strauss. It was about the possible future of the world created because of the success of the Manhattan Project. We see explosive foreshadowing scenes of fire and long-range missiles soaring the skies. He sees a world on fire, and that's how the film concludes. I would love it if you guys drop a like in this video. It would help get my video up in the algorithm, and I would very much appreciate it. Also, click that subscribe button so that you don't miss any future videos that I upload. And now, let's get back to the video. Not a super positive film, but a very passionate and tormented story. Oppenheimer has this deep inner darkness and conflict because of his brilliance and disconnect from others. His allies stabbed him in the back any chance they got, and it was really sad to just watch him slowly fade away in his life and even in that final scene. Murphy is going to get an Oscar nomination for the film for no doubt. The supporting cast all brought their A game, and I wouldn't be surprised to see Emily Blunt or Robert Downey Jr. get Oscar nominations as well. Nolan really showcases the most interesting way to montage building that atomic bomb. The production design is top notch, and the practical effects felt so much more impactful because of it. His wife Emma Thomas also gets massive credit in the co-producing of the film. The screenplay was so well paced, cutting between the past and the present, and for different hearings between both Oppenheimer and for Strauss. I give this film a solid and big 9.5 out of 10 stars for a superb script, incredible production design, out of the park casting, and at times, sometimes overwhelming sound design. It truly is a spectacle that deserves to be seen on the big screen. And honestly, it's worth seeing 2 times for it because of the wonderful job that Christopher Nolan put into the film. It's based off a novel, so there's obviously a lot of tidbits of information here and there that were left out, but I think that Christopher Nolan really gets the right message out and gets the right point across in that, Oppenheimer was a disturbed man, and he was somebody that, while very brilliant, really was disconnected from a lot of people within his own society, and very different from the people that were in leadership as well, as we all saw with, Groves, and also with Strauss and with Harry Truman. I would love to hear your guys' thoughts on the latest Christopher Nolan film. Did it live up to that internet hype of Barbenheimer? Share all those thoughts down below. Thank you for watching today's video, and I hope that you enjoyed today's topic. If you could hit that sub button, that would be awesome. Hit that like button and boost my video up on the algorithm. Click that bell so you don't miss any of my videos that get uploaded. And if you have some time to spare, check out some of these videos on your screen right now.